There is a penalty sitting in a drawer in MotoGP right now, and it has Johann Zarco's name on it. Not for something he might do, for something that already broke him. The crash that tore the ligaments in his left knee, that left him screaming in a gravel trap with his leg trapped under a Ducati. The same wreck that has kept him off a bike for 5 races. The stewards studied it, and they decided the man they carried away on a stretcher was the one who caused it. So they wrote him a sentence, and they are holding it until his body is fit enough to receive it. How does the rider who got hurt the most end up as the guilty party? And why does his comeback begin with a punishment instead of a welcome? Here is what makes this land differently. Zarco is one of the oldest riders on the grid, deep in the final chapter of his career, riding an LCR Honda that's still clawing its way back toward the front. He does not have a decade to shrug this off. Every race he misses is a race that matters, and he has now missed 5 of them flat on his back. The penalty was confirmed this week at the German Grand Prix while he was nowhere near the paddock. And that timing is the part nobody is saying out loud. The sport did not wait for him to come back and defend himself. It ruled in his absence, closed the file, and moved on. So what did the stewards decide happened at that first corner? Go back to the 17th of May, the Catalan Grand Prix in Barcelona. This was not a clean racing lap gone wrong. It was a restart. One more attempt to get going after the opening corner chaos had already sent one rider to hospital. The grid lined up again, the lights went out, and at turn 1 it fell apart. Zarco reached the corner, could not slow the bike in time, and ran into the back of Luca Marini. Both of them went down, and as they slid, they collected Francesco Bagnaia and his Ducati. Zarco came off worst by a distance. His left leg was caught in the wreckage. The ligaments in his knee were torn, and while Marini and Bagnaia walked away, Zarco was the one who could not get up. Now the stewards. They filed the incident under the category the rulebook keeps for riders who create a dangerous situation for others, a label that sounds like a verdict before you reach the punishment. Because it was his first offence of the season, the sanction is a double long lap, 2 slow detours through a penalty loop that cost real time on track. Simple, procedural, clean, except for one detail that turns the whole thing sideways. When does an injured man actually serve a penalty he cannot physically take? Start with what the crash did to him, because the paperwork does not mention it. In his own account afterward, Zarco did not describe a racing incident. He described a nightmare. He went down with Marini's bike, and, in his words, "My left leg got pinned between the wheel, the seat, and the exhaust." He was trapped in the gravel, and, as he put it, screaming in pain, "My leg is starting to burn." Marshals had to cut him out of his own suit. That is the man the stewards have charged. And here is the part that should stop you. The penalty does not apply now. You cannot serve a long lap from a hospital bed. So the sentence has been frozen, held in place, waiting. It activates the moment Zarco is fit enough to line up on a grid again. Sit with that. The sport is not punishing him for a crash. It is punishing him on delay, holding the bill until his body has healed enough to pay it. His reward for getting back on the bike is 2 penalty loops before the race has even settled. Then there is the wording of the ruling itself. It does not talk about him. It talks to him. You caused a crash, second person. A document addressed directly to a rider who was, at that moment, lying on a stretcher. No softening, no context, just a finger pointed straight at him. You. Now the crack in the whole thing. Zarco himself has admitted he should not have been out there. "I'm mad at myself for taking that second start," he said, describing a mind no longer in the zone when the grid formed again. His foot was already bruised purple from the earlier chaos. He was not fit to restart, but he went, because that is what riders do when the sport tells them to go. And Zarco was not the only one uneasy about how the day was being run. After the wrecks, Pedro Acosta went on camera and questioned why they kept going at all. "It's not really necessary to have 3 restarts when we've already had 2 red flags, when there are already 2 riders in the hospital," he said. Sit with the timing of that. When Acosta said it, Zarco was one of those 2 riders in hospital. The sport had already sent them out for the restart that broke him, and it was lining up to send the survivors out a 3rd time. And the injury itself keeps shifting. Surgery was booked, then cancelled as the swelling dropped, and Zarco is now aiming for a September return. But one ligament in that knee is still torn, and the comeback he is chasing is the same one that opens with a penalty. Cal Crutchlow rides in his place while he heals, and the clock is running on a man who does not have many races left to give. So step back and look at the shape of it. A grid full of riders who, by at least one of their own accounts, did not want to go again. A governing body that could have called the result right there, handed out half points, and sent everyone home. It chose not to. The show had to go on. The sport had a grid of riders rattled by 2 first corner crashes, and it kept sending them back out. Zarco, hit by flying debris in the first pile-up, his foot already bruised purple, went out for the restart anyway. Within seconds, it produced the wreck that broke him. Here is the belief flip. This was never really about Zarco losing control of a motorcycle. It is about who carries the cost when the sport gambles and loses. MotoGP pushed the restart. Zarco paid for it with his knee. When the bill came due, the sport did not look at its own choice to send rattled riders back out again. It looked down the grid, found the man who could not defend himself, and wrote his name on the penalty. That is the move that should bother you. Zarco made a mistake, but riders make mistakes every weekend. The difference is that this one was set up by a call he did not make. The victim and the offender in this story are the same man. The sport simply decided which label to file him under. So let us be honest about what is coming. When Johann Zarco finally throws a leg over that Honda in September, the first thing waiting for him will not be a cheer. It will be a sentence. 2 long laps, served on a body that is still not whole, for a wreck he has already paid for in torn ligaments and lost races. Is the penalty legal? By the letter of the rulebook, probably yes. He caused a crash, first offence, standard sanction. But legal and fair are not the same word, and MotoGP knows the difference. The sport built the conditions. It ran the restart its own riders questioned. It got the pile-up. And then it handed the invoice to the one man who left that corner on a stretcher. Zarco will serve his penalty without complaint because that is who he is. He will take his 2 loops, drop to the back, and claw his way forward the way he always has. But make no mistake about what the sport is really doing here. It is welcoming an injured rider home by making him serve time for getting hurt. And it is calling that justice. So here is the real question. If the rider who suffered the most is the one who ends up punished, who exactly was the stewarding meant to protect? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.